Welcome to another edition of Mark's Inspiration. Glad you could join me here today as always. And it's going to be another beautiful sunny October day today. Running a month ahead, I believe. Today's topic is going to be, does age matter? A lot of guys worry about that, and I know women worry about it. And I would have to say that age does matter with women, but much, much less with men. But with that being said, hit that like button and subscribe. No, moving right along. Okay. Age only matters if it matters to you. And I'm not just talking about in the dating world with other women. I'm talking about in everything you do. If you listen to the media and common opinion, they will tell you that when 40 gets here, after they give you the black balloon, your life is downhill. No, actually, a lot of them would have you think after 30, your life is downhill. I remember when I was in my early 20s thinking that I better get married because I didn't want to be an old man alone. Now, where did that come from? That did not come from me. Some outside influence there I picked up. Okay, what I've learned later on, years later, is that 35 is a man's peak. Now, women, it's a little different because a woman, by the time she's 30 years old, 90% of her eggs are gone as far as reproductive value. And as she gets old, a lot of the men are looking more for the 20, 22, 25-year-old women, regardless if the man's 35, 45, or 55. That's what men are attracted to. Not all men, the majority of men. So yes, age does matter more so for women than men. But now, let's move on from the dating game. Let's say in life, when you go out to get a job. I heard is it a synonym? Is that what they call it? Anyway, a word that's similar. A phrase that's taken from the word job. Just over broke. Now, if you have a good job, I'm not belittling your job. There are a lot of people that make much more money, and it's a lot easier working in a job than it is to have their own business. You have a lot less responsibility and a lot more free time to do something else, to start a side hustle, as they call it nowadays. But it is when you're 55 or 50 or 45, it's a little more difficult to get a job because a lot of people are looking for the younger men. They want someone who's more enthusiastic, more energetic. But you can overcome that if you are enthusiastic and energetic and you haven't bought into the idea that's sold every day that you're getting old, that you're too old. You're too old if you think you're too old. It reminds me of what Henry Ford said. If you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're right also. So it's up to you. If you go into a job interview or if you're going to do anything with the attitude of, well, I don't know if I can do it. I'm getting up there. They started sending me those AARP cards about 50 years old. They started sending them to me. I didn't ask for them. American Association of Retired People. So many people live just to retire. Well, what are you going to do when you retire? I think that was back in my dad's day when people actually worked somewhere for 36 years. But most people are going to change jobs many, many times before they get to be 50, 60 years old. I'm not much for working for someone else. I've always been an entrepreneur, self-employed. I tried working for other people, but it just doesn't work for me. If that works for you, great. Hey, go for it. Everybody's different. Everybody has a different path. Doesn't mean that someone is better than the other person. It just means we have a different path. We all have a different gift to give to the world. I met an older man the other day. He's probably 70, close to 80. An older couple. Him and his wife, I did some work for them. He worked at Boeing for years, and my dad worked there also. You could just tell that he just had such a full life working there. I mean, he really loved it. So that's different. I know some people who work at a job for years like that, and they just can't wait to retire because they just hate going in every day, and that's all they look forward to is retirement. But you could see this guy, he would have stayed there if he could have, but his health was starting to fail, and he couldn't work like he used to. But once again, this man did not act old. Actually, I went by there the other night and he had just gotten out of the hospital. He had a little problem and he's doing good now. But it's all within you. Well, of course, we're all going to get old and pass on. That's part of life. But guess what? That baby that was born today, it's getting old too. Just like you were when you were a baby. We're all going to get old. the trick is, or the secret is, are you getting old inside? The spirit man or the metaphysical man or the part of you that never dies never gets old. But if you allow yourself to be programmed by the world, let me see, how do they say it? Okay, when you're growing up, and you have aches and pains, you get hurt, oh, that's just growing pains. Okay. Now when you get older, let's say your 30s or 40s and you get hurt or you have aches and pains, well, you're getting old. You're not as young as you used to be. It's all bullcrap. I work with my kids. They're 17, just turned 17, the youngest yesterday. Well, the youngest that works for me. I have a 12-year-old, okay, and I'm 61. I may have a couple more kids. Richard Gere had a couple of kids. He's 71 years old. I think his kids are like 2 and 3 years old. Okay, now a lot of people would say, what's he doing having kids? He's too old. That's not fair to them. Well, here's the deal. It's up to him, not to you or me, to decide what he does with his life and how he raises his kids. I'm sure his kids will be well taken care of, and he's making an impact on them now, whether he lives another year or another 10 years. Being around young people keeps you young. Because as I said, at the end of the day, when we're working and we have a very physical job, climbing ladders and doing a lot of physical work, lifting, carrying, stretching, it's almost like yoga and some other exercises that I've done in my life, I am stiff and I'm sore. But guess what? My kids are stiff and sore also. And as I said, 17, 18, and 20, almost 20. That's how old they are. I mean, they are complain and carry on more than I do. Okay, I'm 61. The oldest that works for me is 19. The youngest 17. What's the difference? Nobody's telling them they're getting old. But I'll guarantee you, if an older person heard me, I'll get out of the truck, son of a gun, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're not as young as you used to be. You're getting old. You're going to think about retiring. I'm telling you what, if you want to buy into that, go right ahead and buy into it. I'm not. I'm having a wonderful life. I'm enjoying my life more now than I ever had. And there's no reason you can't do the same. But it's all in the way you think about your life. All in the way you perceive it. So it's up to you. If you think you're old, you're old. I remember at 27, I looked in the mirror and I could see some wrinkles. And I even had a white hair or two. And I'll tell you what, I felt older then than I do now. Now, how is that? When I look in the mirror now, I like what I see more now than I did then. I'll tell you why, because at that time in my life, I was not living the type of life I am today. I was very dishonest. I manipulated people, mostly in my personal life. Well, almost 99% in my personal life. I was married. I was lying to my wife. I had many women. I was lying to all of them. Now, you can do that. You can have many women, or a harem as they call it, without lying to everybody. But that was the way I chose to do it. Well, it didn't work out too well for them and for me either. In the end of that, I was miserable as hell. And I threw it all out and tried something different. But some of the things I did then worked well. But I just thought the whole lifestyle was terrible. I just needed to be more honest. But I reaped the results of that, and they were great in regards to not so great. There were a lot of results that I just didn't enjoy too much, but I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot about treating other people the way you want to be treated. Although I'll go back to that and say the golden rule does not apply in relationships with women. You don't want to treat them the way you want to be treated. You want to treat women the way they want to be treated, what they respond to, what they're attracted to, what gets them to fall in love with you. Not so you can manipulate them, not so you can use them, not so you can get out of them what you want, just because this is the way they want to be treated. You want to be treated differently than a woman wants to be treated. So you can't really use the golden rule in that way when it comes to men and women relationships. But in all other aspects of your life, I advise you to use that. I would go into explaining that. Let me see. You want to treat women, as I said, the way they want to be treated. So in reality, it is the golden rule because you want to be treated the way you want to be treated. But it's just a little different because sometimes we think, well, this is how I would want to be treated if I were her. But she doesn't want what you want. It's difficult to explain, but stop and think about that for a while. So remember that next time you think, well, I know what I would like. Let me give you an example of a mistake I've made in the past. Okay, a woman does something I'm going out with and she treats me really good. Well, I want to double up and do something for her that really just is magnificent for her. Okay, now you would think she'd appreciate that, and she does initially, but they lose respect for you. There's a rule called I think it's the 2/3 rule. For every 2/3 she does for you, you do 1/3 back to her. For every, let's say, for lack of a better way to say it, I'll give you an example. Let's say she sends you a paragraph of text message, a short paragraph, let's say 4 lines or 3 lines. You send 1 line back to her, okay? It's the same way. If she gives you something, you give her 1/3 of the 2/3 she gave to you. And that's what they like. That's what they respond to. Although many women will tell you they want to be treated like a queen, and they would tell you that what I'm saying now is not true. They would love it if a man would just shower them with gifts and give them everything they wanted. Now, after about a week or a month or 6 months, whatever it takes, they would be thinking, I love him, but I'm just not in love with him anymore. And they don't even know why. Because you're too giving, and to them it's like you're seeking approval, like you have to buy them, even though that's not what you're doing. And I made this mistake myself. A few years back, I did. A couple years back, I was with a girl, and she really made me feel good. We had a great time together, and I really showered her with a lot of gifts. Not to get her because I already had her, just because I wanted to express the way I felt about her in other ways besides saying it verbally. But the more I did that, the less respect she got from me, or had from me. As opposed to when I was younger, I never did anything like that for women. Never did. And I'd get them a birthday present maybe. But that was a mistake I made. I had been out of the dating game for, 20 years probably. I was married for 12 years, raised my kids. It was 20 years before I ever had gone out with anybody, really. So I was rusty. Just like when you get back in the ring after many years, you get beat up a little bit. So I got beat up a little bit. I was just too nice. And nice guys finish last when it comes to women. Nice girls finish first when it comes to men. As I said, there's nothing wrong with giving gifts to women, but just be careful how and when and how much. Just because she's treating you well and you want to take her on that trip to Paris or to the Caribbean or whatever, be careful about that. It would be best if you went on that trip for yourself and brought her along, rather than taking her there and telling her, you know what, you've been so good to me, I want to take you, what do you want to do? I want to make your dreams come true. That sounds good, but it just doesn't work well. And they don't respect you as much if you do that. Now, I'm all for encouraging people, encouraging your woman to pursue her dream, whatever that happens to be. But you must be cautious about how much you put of yourself into that. Never put her above yourself. Never put her on a pedestal. Never put her as the most important thing in your life, or even the second or third most important thing in your life, because contrary to what you may logically think, she will not appreciate that or respect it, and she won't even know why. Okay? I gotta go. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.